So this guy hit me up on social media. I looked up his stuff. He's running for president of the United States in November as an independent. His name is Wayne Lambright. Wayne Lambright joins us right now on the show. Wayne, I do appreciate you being here, my friend. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, Wayne. So tell me, Wayne, why did you decide to run for president?
Well, when I was 12 years old, my dad said, you can be anything you want, including president. And actually, I've been thinking about that ever since the age of 12. In the back of my mind, if I ever get rich, I'll be president someday. So my whole life, I've been studying different leaders throughout history, what made them successful, what makes America great. And I'm an early internet pioneer. I'm not wealthy, but I still have aspirations of trying to fix America's problems, which your audience might agree. We've got all kinds of problems that seem easily fixable, but we can't fix them. I'm an engineer, and I'm just taking a real engineering approach. Forget politics, forget private interest. How do we pragmatically fix what seems to be easily fixed, but is perpetually broken?
So I'm an independent as well, but if somebody asked me who are you going to vote for, with all due respect, I say Kamala Harris because I am extremely anti-Donald Trump. So I'm going to ask you the same question. I understand you want to win. I get that. But if you had to choose between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, just to give people, my listeners, a little bit of context, who would, if you had to vote for one of them, who would it be?
I'm not going to vote for either. It's not a hypothetical question. It's actually a real question in my life. I don't like Donald Trump for a variety of reasons. Mostly he's a spoiled, rich asshole who wouldn't help you change a flat tire. And Kamala Harris wouldn't know how to change a flat tire. She's been getting backdoor deals her whole life. She hasn't really earned her way in there. I've met Kamala Harris. She gave me a hug. I've met her a few times at private parties. And
what do you mean backdoor deals? I'm confused because she gets her college degree.
Did she really take the bar? Did she?
Yeah, she did. She passed it the second time. Yeah, she did. Why? I'm curious. Why would you question?
I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with her. She's a horrible public speaker. She can't think on her feet. She might have some positive skills somewhere. I've just never seen them.
Okay,
I don't find her to be ethical.
I'm not trying to convince you one way or another. You know, I'm just questioning. You said she got backdoor deals. So she passes the bar. She gets her college degree. She becomes a skilled prosecutor. She's duly elected twice in San Francisco. She then becomes a senator. I'm just trying to understand the whole backdoor deal. She got everything on a silver platter when it appears
it's the Willie Brown stuff. It's the Willie Brown stuff. I don't think it's ethical. I don't think that's ethical what she did.
What do you mean having well, hold on a second. Let's talk about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. So she allegedly had a sexual relationship with a man 40 years ago. Why would that bother you? Have you never been with a woman before? Like, I don't understand. Why would that bother you?
The guy's married.
No, not true. Not true. She dated him when he wasn't married. Sir, you're running for president of the United States. That's misinformation, with all due respect. She was with him when he was not married. And I'm asking you again, why would you have an issue with that?
Well, if he wasn't married, then I don't have an issue.
Okay, well, he wasn't. So don't you think if you're going to criticize Harris, you should probably be factually accurate?
I don't know if you're telling the truth. You seem to be blinded by the Democrats. What about Jill Stein?
What do you mean I'm blind? Okay, well, hold on a second. Let's just.
What about Jill Stein? She's got an amazing platform. Like, the Democrats should have picked up Jill Stein and ran with her.
Well, that's another topic, and I'm happy to talk to you about Jill Stein. But with all due respect, sir, I'm not blinded. You just said you had a problem with Harris having some sort of affair with Willie Brown.
Okay, I'm running on a technology platform, and
I understand that.
I don't want this conversation to be about Kamala Harris. All right,
you're the one who brought up Willie Brown. Let's be honest here. It's either going to
let it go. You need to let it go. Okay, I already acknowledge if you're saying what's true, then it doesn't matter. I'm wrong.
Okay. Thank you for admitting that. Now we can move on. Okay.
Great.
But the reason why
here's what I'm running on. I'm running on a technology platform as an engineer.
I heard you.
I'm certain that there are certain things technology-wise that solve the many quote unquote problems we have, like our reliance on fossil fuels, I know that there was a satellite built in '79 that can power a city the size of San Francisco times 20. We have alternative ways to make electricity, like geothermal. 2 holes in the ground.
Why do you want to
raise
raise minimum wage to $30 an hour? Do you realize how many small businesses would be closed down the next day?
Hold on. Let me talk about my technology, and then you can beat me up on the other stuff. All right. Geothermal is available all around the world. 2 holes in the ground, pumping water, out comes steam, electricity. Okay. That's been around for at least 50 years. We could be doing that. Okay, anti-gravity, as far as I know, on the top secret level, was mastered in 1955. It's the ability to fly to the other side of the world in 5 minutes. This makes all forms of transportation obsolete. We wouldn't need ships to float it over. We can anti-gravity it over. There's ways to make electricity from the sky. All right. We're running the world on oil.
Wait, hang on. We can get back to that. I have no problem talking about that with you if you're passionate about that. But I want to talk about some other serious issues first, if that's okay.
Sure.
I want to raise minimum wage to $30 an hour. You're comfortable with a 16-year-old kid working at a fast food chain making $30 an hour, or a small business struggling to get by, paying their employees $30 an hour? Do you realize how many small businesses would go out of business if we
fuck that small business. Fuck that small business for taking advantage of people who are not given a living wage.
You're running for president of the United States. And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say the F word.
You want to open up a 9/11 investigation? Why?
Israel did 9/11. I'm a Jew, and I'm telling you that Israel did 9/11.
Well, then you know what? Then you're an embarrassment to Jews. Why would you make a statement like that? There's no evidence.
Because it's not about Judaism. It's about a hostile nation to America, Israel, which did controlled demolition on 9/11. 4,000 Americans died, and you're supporting Israel? Are you a Jew? Are you a Jew?
Man, or anybody for that matter, to be running for president of the United States to make a conspiracy theory
you're
that
a ginger
behind 9/11.
You're an angry ginger.
Are you a serious person? Are you a serious person to make an accusation like that? With all
the evidence is clear. You don't have enough IQ to understand what the controlled demolition is.
Where's the evidence that Israel was behind 9/11? Where do I find it? Where's the evidence? Since I'm not smart enough.
Christopher Bollin, Bollyn. I can send. I mean, I'm not going to send it to you right now on the. Well, I could send it to you on the air. Sullivan.
I don't know what you're talking. So those Al Qaeda people that were on those planes, they were just fake people.
The Arabs were fucking framed. Sorry for F words. So sorry.
I told you now for the 3rd time, don't swear. How could you run for president of the United States and swear in a radio interview, sir? If we're going to continue this conversation, you're gonna stop swearing.
You're a big baby. You're a big baby. You need to grow up.
You're running.
You're a big baby.
Bottom down at the end. You're running for president of the United States. You want to raise minimum wage to $30 an hour.
That's right. A livable wage.
Into 9/11. You're claiming Israel is responsible for 9/11, which is, by the way,
about Building 7? You know about Building 7? 2 buildings fell that morning, then an hour later, a third building. 4 hours later, a third building fell. You just don't have enough brain power in your tiny head to understand the physics.
Physics? You just said Israel was responsible for 9/11. You dope.
Yeah, they did. They placed control.
This guy has an IQ of like 10, okay? You know,
they placed explosives in the building months in advance.
I looked up his website. He said he's running for president of the United States. I always like to give people a fair shake. He swore at him several times. He said, I have a low IQ. And this is the same idiot that says Israel was behind 9/11. He wants to raise minimum wage to $30 an hour. He wants to decriminalize every drug, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know what? I'll bring up one more thing just to expose
what's dumb about it. What's dumb about decriminalizing drugs?
Not you, Numchuck, the dope that I'm talking to.
What's dumb about decriminalizing drugs? It puts the CIA out of business.
African Americans, $1 million to go
back.
Could
you pass a drug test right now? I bet you couldn't.
Are you a Klan member, sir? Sir, are you a member of the Klan? Yes or no? Answer the question, dope.
No, of course not.
Yeah, you're a racist. You want to pay people $1 million because they're black to go back to Africa? You're an idiot. Why don't you say it? I'm an idiot. I'm not a serious person, and my name is Wayne Lambright. Why don't you
ask some black people if that's a fucking that's a fabulous idea.
You're a moron.
Well, that's just your opinion.
I've had enough of you. There are people in this country that are very stupid, that make a mockery of our elections. This is a guy who's running as an independent. He's running as a dope, as a moron. He comes on this show. By the way, I have some other of his policies on his website that are absurd. Yeah, he wants to decriminalize every drug. He claims Israel's responsible for 9/11. Alex Jones would probably love to interview you, sir. He wants to raise minimum wage to $30 an hour. He wants universal basic income, even if you don't work. How could anybody take this guy seriously? You know, and I gave him a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I gave him a chance. You frickin' idiot, you dope. That's a guy that's running for president of the United States. That guy might even be more dangerous than Donald Trump, and that's saying something.
Over under 10 votes.
He's probably not going to get many. No, there'll probably be some QAnons out there some Q that'll vote for him. I bet you the Q shaman would vote for this guy. What a dope. Holy smokes. Hey, you know what? Sometimes it's worth exposing people like this. That's what I'll say. He shouldn't have been allowed to have a gun.
This is a Bill of Rights, not a Bill of Needs. It's not a bill of what I think you should have. I have a very low trust level for government, or low trust level for anybody else to take care of my family. I believe more guns means less crime, not more guns means more crime. Enshrined in our Constitution, a Bill of Rights, and that Bill of Rights says that there's a right to bear arms in defense of ourselves and in defense of our constitutional form of government. And we should have suitable weapons to do so.
What is it that the new House Speaker, the new GOP House Speaker, Mike Johnson, thinks about this tragedy last night? What did Mike Johnson have to say about all these innocent lives lost and about the gun violence in this country that is talked about way too much after a tragedy happens? What did Mike Johnson, the right-wing Christian radical, have to say about all this? Well, you won't be surprised.
This is a dark time in America. We have a lot of problems, and we're really, really hopeful and prayerful. Prayer is appropriate in a time like this, that the evil can end and this senseless violence can stop. And so that's the statement this morning on behalf of the entire House of Representatives. Everyone wants this to end, and I'll leave it there.
What a complete idiot this guy is. What a coward and what a right-wing religious zealot nut this guy is. He thinks prayer is going to stop this from happening. It's interesting. Every single time we have one of these mass shootings, you hear the same things from these right-wing buffoons, just like Mike Johnson. Thoughts and prayers. Let's talk about prayer, as if prayer would have stopped this guy from doing what he did. Let me be very clear. Prayer is not going to get AR-15s off the shelves. Prayer is not going to get illegal guns off the streets. Prayer is not going to get these right-wing idiots from making it easier for people, especially crazy people, from getting their hands on weapons of war. Mike Johnson, you are a disgrace. You are a right-wing nut, and you are despicable, is what you are. And while you were talking about prayer, Joe Biden was calling some of the family members who lost loved ones. That's far more valuable than you looking into a camera and speaking to members of the media and saying, well, it's really appropriate to prayer. We got to pray for this violence to stop. No, you idiot. Morons like you have blood on your hands because scumbags like you refuse to put laws on the books that would make it more difficult for mentally ill people and criminals to get their hands on weapons. Prayer is not the answer, you stupid buffoon. Let's talk about this guy, Mike Johnson, whose only statement today was we should all pray. You stupid idiot. You stupid idiot. You disgusting excuse for a human being. You right-wing zealot, you. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is the far majority of the alt-right Republican Party today. They'll talk about prayer, but they don't want to talk about implementing actual laws that'll save people's life. But yeah, let's just sit down and pray. Did praying help all those innocent people? The innocent African Americans that died in that church that day? Or the innocent people throughout the country that at times have been in synagogues that have been executed? Prayer didn't seem to help them. If you want to pray on your own time, you go ahead and do that, you scumbag. But if you're an actual lawmaker, it's your job to put laws on the books to make Americans safer. All I hear from these people is thoughts and prayers. Haven't you had it? I've had it. Thoughts and prayers. That's what Lauren Boebert put on her Twitter page. I'm praying for all the people. Yeah, while you're praying, your next Christmas greeting card will be your kids holding AR-15s. You evil witch, you. What have Republicans done for decades to help the American people when it comes to gun control? What have they done? This madman who committed this atrocious act of killing at least 18 people and injuring so many others was actually a firearms instructor. Yeah, he served the country in the U.S. Army Reserves. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He should have never been able to get his hands on a gun. Why, you ask? Well, he was committed to a mental health facility not that long ago for 2 weeks over the summer, and he had made threats of killing innocent people. He had told family members and friends that he was hearing things. Joining me right now on the line, his name is Eric J. Friday. He is a trial attorney specializing in family and constitutional law, and he has some expertise in the areas of firearms laws and Second Amendment rights. Very happy to have Eric joining us right now on the show. Eric, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Doing good.
Appreciate it, Eric. Thank you for the time. I guess my first basic question would be, what was your first reaction when you heard about this mass shooting that took place last night in Maine?
Same my reaction is almost every time is, why are more people not taking responsibility for protection of themselves and their families? I have a very low trust level for government, or low trust level for anybody else to take care of my family. I believe that those in the community are in the best position. My friends, people that I associate with daily, I believe more guns means less crime, not more guns means more crime.
So let me ask you about that. If that is the case, that more guns equals less crime, why do we have virtually more violence, gun violence, than any other country in the world, yet we have just about more guns than any other country in the world? You don't see that correlation as possibly being the opposite? You just think that's a coincidence?
Well, the problem comes in, you say more guns means more gun crime. You don't consider, and I have this argument with people all the time, they don't look at the violence numbers overall in other countries. I see guns as a method to stopping crime, period. God made men, Samuel Colt made them equal. There's a very high rate of knife violence or knife crime in other countries, especially in Great Britain, since they banned guns. So for that reason, I don't think it's a fair comparison to say, what is the crime rate versus what is the gun crime rate?
Do you think it's a fair comparison to compare knives to an AR-15?
I think violence is violence, and I abhor all violence, and I believe that all of us should have the ability to carry the means to stop violence against ourselves.
I agree. Listen, Eric, I agree with you. We agree fundamentally. We don't want this to happen. And I guess my question to you is, when I think about some of these assault weapons, as you know,
well, I don't use that term. I'm not going to. Yeah, if you use the term assault weapon, we're talking about a fully automatic weapon. Those are already illegal. I mean, if we want to talk about a modern sporting rifle, a rifle that functions just like the hunting rifle I grew up hunting with, that's one thing. That's not an assault rifle.
Okay, well, let's talk about the weapons that were used, the AR-15s that were used at Uvalde, Las Vegas, Buffalo, Boulder, Orlando, Parkland, Nashville, San Diego. Very similar types of weapons that were used in some of the biggest mass shootings in this country. I'm specifically talking about those weapons that were built for one reason and one reason only, not for self-defense, to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. Those are the weapons that I'm talking about. And I don't think that everyday citizens like you and me should be allowed to have those weapons, because I don't think we should use them for self-defense, because that's not what they're for.
Well, Brian, I mean, I'd say this as you know, you asked me on here, as I understand, as a lawyer.
Sure.
And as a lawyer, my answer to you is a Bill of Rights, not a Bill of Needs. It's not a bill of what I think you should have. Once upon a time in the state I grew up in, people didn't think that certain people should be able to vote based on their skin color. Mm-hmm. So what one group of people in our country thinks another group should have, needs to have, wants to have, is not really relevant to the conversation. We, the people enshrined in and this goes back to what the Supreme Court recently ruled, we, the people enshrined in our Constitution, a Bill of Rights. And that Bill of Rights says that there's a right to bear arms in defense of ourselves and in defense of our constitutional form of government. And we should have suitable weapons to do so. The founders, in their minds, individual citizens could own cannons and warships. So I don't think an AR-15 is such a stretch. They do ban us from owning fully automatic M16s, which even that I have a problem with that being banned. I don't believe that there should be limits on people having those type of arms that are suitable for military use, because we are all supposed to be part of the militia. That's the way our founding fathers intended.
So, but I would say when the Bill of Rights was written, especially the Constitution, we had something called muskets. I think technology changes, weaponry changes, but by your standards of what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
you have no problem with people owning grenades, tankers. I mean, where does it end?
Well, I mean, I would say that the standard, the way the court has interpreted it to date, has been those weapons capable and in common use amongst most of the citizenry. AR-15s are undeniably the most common rifle in use by the citizenry. This guy that had a gun yesterday,
Mhm.
he is the epitome of what everybody tells us every background check should have protected us from this person of anybody, right? I mean, if we can't trust the guy that is in the United States Army, is an instructor for the United States Army, is a currently serving reservist, if we can't trust that guy not to some point have a problem, can we trust anybody? And that includes the people that are part of government.
He shouldn't have been allowed to have a gun. This is somebody that had a criminal
Let's-
record. Yeah, well, I mean, the guy had a criminal record, and he
I haven't seen that. What was his record? Please.
they haven't gone into detail. All they've said is he has a criminal record. I don't have that in front of me, but what I do know is he checked himself into a mental health facility for 2 weeks. The guy should have never had a gun to begin with. I'm not saying every Democrat is perfect. By the way, they're not.
I know.
But here's where we fundamentally disagree on a couple things. First of all, I disagree with that premise because I believe Democrats for decades now have been trying to do a hell of a lot more than Republicans have been trying to do. In fact, Republicans are making it easier for people to get access to guns, where I believe Joe Biden and you can disagree with what
No, I don't never disagree on that.
yeah, but you can disagree on Joe Biden's policies and an assault weapons ban that he wants to pass. We can disagree on that, but as a whole, Republicans care more about their A+ rating from the NRA. Democrats could give two craps what their rating is from the NRA, and I think that speaks volumes of where the two parties are at right now. I would say my definition of a hypocrite is somebody that calls themselves pro-life. I'm not speaking about you. I don't know what your stance is on that, but Republicans in office today that call themselves pro-life, and they're so concerned about the unborn child, but then when that child is born, they don't want to put anything on the books to make us safer. Now, if your opinion is more guns are the answer, obviously we fundamentally disagree on that. I don't think more guns in society makes us safer. I mean,
Yeah.
It's one side that says more guns are safer. I'm obviously on the side of less guns, but I think fundamentally we also both want the same thing. We obviously don't want innocent people to be hurt or die. And in my personal, and I think you'll agree with me on this, we need more conversations like this. And I think we need to come somewhere in the middle. And some people might not like that. But obviously, Eric, what we're doing now is not working. Right now, what we're doing as a society is not working. And we have to make changes. Now, you might disagree, or I might disagree with some of those changes. We need to make changes. And there are not enough lawmakers in Washington that are willing to raise their hand and say, I'm willing to do that. I think most Democrats are. And I think Republicans need to say, you know what? I don't agree with the Democrats on everything. Let's sit down and talk. Republicans, many of them don't even want to talk about this stuff. They say thoughts and prayers, which I think is so disrespectful, to what is going on in society as a whole, because we hear it after every mass shooting. But, I guess we got to end it there. But I can tell you this, sir, I'd love to have this conversation with you again.
I'd love to come back.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it with you. And I think as Americans, we need to have more of these conversations. And I do respect your opinion, Eric, and I appreciate you coming on the show, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate that. In my personal opinion, as I've talked about assault weapons a lot on this show, there was an assault weapons ban in the early 90s. It worked. Gun violence was down. If you don't believe me, you can go look that up yourself. Then it fizzled out because of Republicans. I know that might be a shocker to some of you. Republicans allowed this bill to fizzle out. There is no reason why anybody in this country needs an AR-15 to defend themselves. I don't want to take all your guns away. I think if you're a law-abiding citizen and you're not a felon, you should be allowed to purchase guns and you should be allowed to defend yourself. I have a serious problem with someone that turns 18 years old. The day they turn 18, they're allowed to walk into a gun store like the Uvalde shooter did the day he turned 18. You want to make it easier for people to have guns, like so many other lawmakers that are on the right in Washington. What are your solutions? You think more guns are going to make us safer? It's not a coincidence that per 100 people in this country, per capita, we have 140 guns. We are obsessed with guns in this country. It is a gun-obsessed culture. in the United States of America. Don't talk about mental illness when there are mentally ill people all over the world. What makes us unique? Culture, the gun culture in this country. When we have lawmakers, politicians, idiots like Lauren Boebert, and I'm also going to throw Mike Johnson in that mix too. He's also an idiot, because when you talk about prayer and you have nothing of substance to say after another mass shooting, you're an idiot. Johnson is an embarrassment to this country, like so many on the evangelical right. What are your solutions? Have you heard any logical solutions from Republicans on this issue? Ever? After the Uvalde shooting, it was basically, according to Ted Cruz, lock the door, harden our schools. As if locking a door would have been a deterrent for this 18-year-old madman who had just shot his grandmother in the face. You think a locked door would have stopped him from going into that school and killing a bunch of innocent kids? Of course not. It's ridiculous, just like everything else in the Republican Party. They care more about an A+ rating from the NRA than they do your life or my life or our children's lives. They'll talk about abortion and how it's, the worst thing in the world, killing our children every day. They'll call women murderers. But then when it comes to somebody with an AR-15 going in there executing a bunch of kids, they're mum on the issue. They'll just throw their hands in the air and say, there's really not much we can do. You want to talk about Hunter Biden, okay? But I've never heard you. You want to talk about a double standard? Why don't we discuss the $2 billion that Jared Kushner got? Would you like to talk about that, Rhonda?
If we have a conversation,
Let's
Brian,
do it. Let's do it. I've never heard you bring that up. Is that a double standard?
Have you ever brought it up?
The $2 billion?
You're bringing it up
every
now,
day
aren't
on
you?
this show.
And this was their situation that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are in right now, that people wouldn't be yelling from the top of their lungs that Donald Trump is selling out our country. It is very dangerous when people let their political views get in the way of the security and safety of this country.
Let's talk about that. I'm so glad you brought up the word double standard, because Jared Kushner was working for Donald Trump. He accepted a $2 billion payment from the Saudis. Donald Trump didn't send Mike Pompeo out there to Saudi Arabia. Oh, no, it wasn't Mike Pompeo that was sent out there. Guess who it was, Rhonda? It was Jared Kushner, and they wrote him a $2 billion check. By the way, not a private citizen was Jared Kushner. What about Donald Trump's daughter, if you'd like to talk about double standards? She made an excess of $600 million, but I don't hear people like you talking about that. You want to talk about a double standard? You people are obsessed.
You people
with Hunter Biden's penis.
People.
Yes.
Did you just say you people?
Yes, Republicans.
Thanks for qualifying that.
Oh, you want to bring the razor?
I'm not. No. I'm saying you said you people. You know that is like you don't say you people.
MAGA Republicans. I don't care if you're black, yellow, blue, green, or red.
So I'm a.
You don't want to talk about.
I'm a MAGA
you
Republican.
Want to talk you want to talk about Hunter. I don't hear you bring it up. You want to talk about Hunter Biden? What did Hunter Biden do?
What did Hunter Biden do?
Yeah, tell me. What did he do involving Joe Biden? What did they do? How has it been proven that Joe Biden broke the law?
So you're saying that, and then we'll get back to the other thing. You're telling me that it's okay for Hunter Biden to make deals with China involving the big man.
You're an attorney. Where was the law broken? What laws did Joe Biden break?
Besides having a foreign
what
government,
specific law did he break?
Do you want me to look it up? Because I'm sorry, but I don't have the whole United States Code in my head.
So you can't tell me the
I can
law
look
that
it
he
up.
broke.
I can look it up. No, I can't tell you the exact
But Joe
law that he
Biden broke the law.
Yes, he did.
And what was the law?
Because this is what prosecutors do. You know what prosecutors
What did he do?
They take the facts and then they look at the code sections and say, you violated this, and this, and this.
I'm asking you for facts.
I just said it. And you said, and then you asked me, well, what law did he break? Yeah. And I'm asking you, do you think it's okay for Hunter Biden to make deals with foreign governments like China and sell access to his father, who was the vice president and president of the United States? Do you think that's okay? And you're saying that is regular. That hasn't been proven.
It hasn't been proven that Joe Biden was involved in any of Hunter Biden's business dealings.
It hasn't been proven that Donald Trump is guilty of any of the crimes that he was indicted for. But it's okay for you to say that he's guilty, right?
So first of all, I never said on this show that he was guilty. But what I did say is that he's facing 91 felony counts and he was indicted.
You said that he did this, he did that, he did that as an affirmative. You didn't say
allegedly.
You said he did this, he did that.
Now,
that's what you said.
If you're telling me, do I believe Donald Trump is going to be a felon, a convicted felon? The answer would be yes.
I don't care and I can tell you right now that if there was politically driven prosecution on Democrats, I'd be having the same issues, because at the end of the day, my north light and my guiding light is the Constitution.
Which
No
Donald
matter
Trump
who
wants to
you,
rip up.
no matter who or what side of the aisle you belong on, this country protects all of its citizens
Yeah.
with the United States Constitution.
So if you're a constitutionalist, then what do you think about Donald Trump saying that he wanted to abolish the Constitution? He said that multiple times in the last couple of years. What are your thoughts on that, and why would you vote for somebody like that if you're a constitutionalist?
Well, first of all, you're going to have to give me a source, because Donald Trump, from what I've seen, has done nothing but protect
I'll give you
the
a direct
Constitution.
quote in our next segment.
Protect the Constitution.
I'll give you a
But
direct
in
quote.
fact, if Donald Trump came out today on and announced that he wants to abolish the Constitution, I would not support that.
Okay.
But I don't believe he ever would say that.
So he has said he wanted to rip up parts of the Constitution. I know that 100% because I've actually read it on the air. You said that Democrats, the reason why Joe Biden can't be indicted is because he's a sitting president.
Because we're selling out to foreign countries.
And there's no evidence that
There's
Joe
no-
Biden did that.
There's no, you know what? It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? That's what we're doing right here. There's no evidence because there's no investigation.
In order there,
There's no evidence
Rhonda,
because
you're an
there's
attorney.
no investigation.
In order there to be an investigation, there has to be a reason why they're investigating.
And it's,
You do know that,
yes,
right?
I do.
You
And
don't
the
just
reason why
investigate
they're
somebody.
investigating, and they could, it's enough that all the information that was on Hunter Biden's
You have the information
laptop.
that was on Hunter Biden's
It's
laptop?
all over the media. Even the liberal stations are talking about it, and well, briefly, but now it just miraculously
What did
went
Joe
away.
Biden do? Where's the evidence on Hunter Biden's
It's
laptop?
conversations that he is talking about the big guy, which they're referring to as his dad, Joe Biden. I mean, just like there's wiretaps that would happen with the mob, there's wiretaps that happen with criminal organizations today, gang members and all that. They all have their code names. That's Joe Biden. But if you're not looking and investigating, of course you're not going to find any evidence, because they don't want to find any evidence. And you keep going back to Donald Trump's 91 counts and his indictments. However, the difference is that there are indictments because the FBI and the DOJ chose to investigate these alleged crimes instead of these alleged crimes.
Okay. I don't know what alleged crimes you're speaking of when it
I
comes
just
to
said it.
I know.
Okay, let's start with espionage.
You made a statement about
let's
Hunter
talk about
Biden's laptop.
let's talk about giving American secrets. And let's talk about giving American
There's
secrets.
no evidence that Joe Biden gave
and
Americans.
giving advantages
Where's your
over
evidence
foreign
that
companies.
Where did you hear that Joe Biden gave American secrets away for money? Where are you getting this stuff from? This is crazy stuff,
No,
Rhonda.
it's not crazy.
What we know is that Donald Trump gave away American secrets and gave it to people without security clearances. It's caught on audio. If you could find me an audio tape of Joe Biden doing that, then I'm with you.
An audio
Where's
tape.
it?
So we need to have it on audio tape. So now
We need to have
we
evidence.
gotta have, now
There's gotta be something. You can't just say something.
And that is enough evidence, is what I'm telling
What
you,
is
to open
enough
an
evidence?
investigation.
That you're claiming that Joe Biden sold our secrets?
Did you see any of the things that were on Hunter Biden's laptop? Did you read some of the messages and the
So you had Hunter
conversations?
Biden's laptop? You worked for the DOJ? You saw the information?
say that?
Where did you get it from?
Did I say that?
Then where did you get it from?
From the things that were released.
And who released them and what entity?
CNN,
and what did
Fox,
you and what,
MSNBC.
So what did CNN release? Let's start with CNN.
Congress has them as well. So you're saying Congress is presenting
Okay,
false
so let's go with that for a moment.
and-
Hold on,
and-
I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's go with that. You're claiming that Congress has all the insides.
I didn't say all the
Hold on,
insides.
but some credible information of some wrongdoing or law break. Hold
The
on.
things that were found on Hunter
Gotcha.
Biden's
Okay.
laptop. Hunter
So if
Biden's
that's
laptop
the case,
information.
Gotcha. So if that's the case, and by the way, I don't know if you're aware, but Comer and the Republicans and attorneys, they have subpoenas everywhere. They've had bank records. They've been investigating the Bidens forever. So if what you're saying is true, which I don't believe it to be true, but if it was true, and they would have access to the laptop, and if there was such wrongdoing on that laptop, they would have already presented it. They haven't. You know why? Because there's nothing there that correlates
So
Joe
you're
Biden to committing a crime.
So you're speculating.
You're the one that's speculating. You
No,
say
I'm
you
not.
know
You
everything.
just said there's nothing there. You just said if.
Where is it? Where is
if.
it? If Congress has it, where is it? And why haven't the Republicans? Republicans, I think we could agree, are trying to do everything they can to prove that Joe Biden broke the law.
And those things have been leaked, and those things have been talked about. But you know what? Let's go back to the Constitution. All right. There's 3 branches of government. Each one has their power. The Congress, both houses of Congress, That's the legislative branch. They make laws, right? You know
Well, some do.
You know who enforces. You know who enforces the law and investigates the lawbreakers. That's the executive branch. That's Joe Biden. Congress doesn't have the power to send the FBI and the DOJ out there to investigate. That's not within. There's a separation of powers. So if there really would be an investigation, a real investigation.
So the Republicans, that's not a real investigation.
The executive branch would have to do
So you would agree then that Comer and Jim Jordan, that's not a real investigation, what they're doing with the Bidens. You're making that case, and I agree with you, right?
Because they
not a
don't
real
have,
investigation.
they don't have the power.
They have the power to subpoena,
They don't
interview
have
witnesses.
the power that the FBI. Oh my God! I mean, Brian, please. This can't.
So that's
be
not a
serious.
real. That's not
You
a real
don't think?
investigation.
Do you? So you're telling me that you think Congress has equal power as the department?
Never
as the
said
DOJ?
Congress had. I never said.
Okay,
I never
so
said
the
Congress
same-
had
so
equal
you-
power. If I thought that Joe Biden was a threat to our democracy, you're damn right. I'd be saying the same thing.
And I want to say every single sitting politician who incited riots during the 2020 elections, during the riots, should be facing the same charges.
I agree.
That Donald Trump is.
I agree. Well, when it comes to incitement,
Well,
but Donald Trump is not facing an incitement charge.
Well, they
which I
actually
disagree
did it.
with.
They actually got up there and actually told people to get out in the streets and tear SHIT up. So you're sitting member
You're
of
talking,
Congress.
are you talking about
You're-
Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about sitting. I'm talking about city. Well, now
Well,
she's
Rudy
mayor.
Giuliani's in a lot of legal trouble,
No,
and there
but
were
I'm not-
others.
so you pivot.
There
like
were
that's
others
what
that
you do,
incite.
pivot.
Well, no, you're
Are you
talking
sure
about.
You should be a lawyer because you know how to
You're-
pivot very well.
I'm
and
not
avoid-
pivoting. I
and
thought you
avoid
were.
questions.
Were you mentioning?
No, I was mentioning Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris incited violence.
Kamala Harris.
What did she do?
And
she say?
what's her name? She's the mayor of LA now. I mean,
What
she's
is
the
she-
one that told people to get out in the streets and tear SHIT
No,
up.
Maxine Waters did not say
And
that.
I didn't say
and
Maxine Waters.
I think most Americans don't care about, like drag queen reading or Hunter Biden's gun or his penis or transgenders and transgender surgery. So give me an example of AOC or
They talk about drag queens. They talk about
Democrats aren't talking
yes,
about
they are.
drag
They're
queens.
talking about it on the other.
No, they're not. They're responding to Republicans that are attacking drag queens.
And are they talking about it?
You think that's the same thing?
Are they talking about it?
Okay, Rhonda, let
No,
me
you
explain
said
you the
what
difference.
are they talking about it? You didn't
Okay,
say. You didn't
okay, I
say
think that's
originate.
absurd.
You didn't say originate.
Let me explain you the difference.
No.
No, I need to explain you the difference because I don't think you
I don't need you
understand
to
it, quite
explain to me
frankly.
the difference.
Okay, but I'm going to explain it anyway. I can't believe you think it's the same thing when Republicans will go after the LGBT community, or in this case, drag queens and drag queen reading, and some of them making incendiary comments like they're pedophiles, and then some Democrats, and I applaud them because I call out this nonsense too, try to tell them, hey, that's bigotry, that's wrong, let them live their lives, and you're comparing the two. That's absurd. Democrats are, for the most part, in my opinion, stand for equality. Now is the 2024 campaign executive director, Veterans for Trump. She is Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff, who joins us right now on the line. Jessie, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really an honor to be here. I'm actually in Milwaukee right now at an event, so there's a lot of noise around me, so I'm glad I was able to find a semi-quiet spot to talk to you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much. I guess my first quick questions for you would be, how do you think the first couple days of the Republican National Convention have gone through your eyes?
Well, I've been to 4 other conventions. Well, this is my 4th, I should say. And the energy with this one is distinctly different. And maybe for a lot of reasons that maybe people hadn't expected. One, President Trump appeared on Monday, and we were able to see him. And that, you know, when you're supporting a candidate, particularly one that just survived an assassination attempt, I think that it's incredibly moving. Because, you know, often people don't see their candidates till the day of their nomination, you know, the official balloon drop, all of that. He's come in, he and J.D. Vance both have come in, sat and listened to the speakers, and seeing them engage with the crowd, engage and wave at us. That is actually just very, regardless of how you feel about President Trump, it's quite moving to see that he said, I'm going to attend, I'm not going to change anything because of this attempt. I'm not going to it's kind of like after 9/11 when people started to say, we're not going to let terrorism influence our lives, we're not going to become afraid, we're not going to stay at home.
I do agree with you that after 9/11, it certainly appeared for a while there, people were able to put politics aside, and we did come together as a country. I'm with you there 150%. We've heard the messaging, at least, which is, you guys are trying to bring people together. Donald Trump has said that in an interview, I believe, over a day or two after the assassination attempt, and he's changing his speech. With that being said, I wanted to ask you this. I mean, there are still some people that spoke yesterday, like you had Ron DeSantis, who compared Joe Biden to the movie Weekend at Bernie's. You heard what Ron Johnson said, where he said the Democrats are a clear and present danger to America. And then he said he read the wrong speech. I mean, I could go down the list, right? There were incendiary comments that were made yesterday. And I want to get your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think those comments are lowering the temperature?
No, they're not, because we don't see the left doing it either. I mean, I'm sorry. We have to all agree that this is politics, and there's going to be a lot of punching back and forth. I think it would be very ignorant for us to say that suddenly Democrats and Republicans are going to hold hands and unite. That's a ludicrous thought. Just a few days prior to the assassination attempt, Joe Biden made very flamboyant, remarks about having Trump in a bullseye, and then also talking about us, people like me, calling me an extremist, MAGA extremist. That has been repeated so many times that often, if you repeat a lie long enough, people do begin to believe it. I served on active duty 20 years in the Marine Corps, and I served with people of all political and racial and ethnic backgrounds, religious persuasions. We didn't really even talk about politics, to be quite honest with you. And what I find is that when you're calling one group of people an extremist, you and I both know what that really means. That's like code talk, trying to say we're racist, trying to say we're Nazis.
Right.
This type of language has been going around Democratic circles for some time, because I'm on the opposing end of when they're calling those names. And yet Joe Biden will say there are normal Republicans, so that he can try to say, but they're with me, they're not with him. The labels they've given to Donald Trump have been pretty unfair and not based upon his record, because his record demonstrated far greater things than what we call extremism, Nazism, the alienation of races. That stuff is just political rhetoric, and I hope that Americans can see through that. Look at the policies of Joe Biden, look at the policies of Donald Trump, and say, hey, this is why I support this candidate, instead of saying they're a bunch of extremists. That's not a political argument. It is really just, rhetoric. And I see through that. I look at policies, look at what I support, what I don't support, and make my decision based upon that.
Listen, I'm with you. I wish both parties would just focus on policy and then let the Americans decide. I'm with you. I'm also glad that at least Joe Biden apologized for that bullseye comment. And I think the temperature needs to be lowered. And you're right. It can happen on both sides. I don't disagree with you one bit. I feel when, listen, if a Republican says that the vice president is a DEI hire, I'm sure you would agree. That's also inappropriate. Talk about policy. Let's talk about policy. I agree with you. So listen, Jesse, I completely respect your service, as I do for anybody who serves this country honorably. I think you all are heroes. And even though I don't always agree with Ron DeSantis, I will always agree with his service to this country. With that being said, I think you're the perfect person to ask this question, since you are the executive director for Veterans for Trump. And I know you've been asked this question before. What went through your mind when you heard Donald Trump say he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured? What went through your mind?
That's really being taken at. So I appreciate that you invited me to your show. But number one, I'm not pulling up the script from what Donald Trump said, but way back in 2015.
Sure.
And you're throwing me a curveball because you want to trip me up.
No, I'm not trying to trip you up.
No, you are. No, you are. Let's be fair. Because
you
are. Because John McCain was very much against Donald Trump from day one. And some of the things that were said during that campaign were not appropriate. And when we look at how John McCain turned his back on Donald Trump when he said he would support him, I think a lot of that vitriol was what comes with politics. So I'm not going to go into that murky area that you really want to pull me into, because I think Donald Trump's policies and what he's done for veterans, what he did for our military, speaks for itself. He got the VA approval rating up to 91%. He enabled veterans who are suicidal to get outside mental health care, because our Veterans Administration has continually failed veterans when it comes to mental health care for a variety of reasons. He allowed veterans outside of a 50-mile radius of a VA hospital to start seeking care. I know this because I'm impacted by those things. He extended our GI Bill so that it lasts for a lifetime instead of having the 10-year deadline. He also ensured that veterans were able to, those that were 100% disabled, had loan forgiveness. So I think his record with veterans is quite proven. I personally have my own personal views about John McCain that are not supportive of him, his policies, his behaviors, many things that he did that I felt were not in good favor for us veterans. So for me, that is a question of going back. And if you want to talk about rhetoric, we know the left has said far worse. And, I can't even sit here on your show and insult you by suggesting that the left has been really sweet and kind and gentle towards us conservatives, because you know that's not true. And I would like to say this. It was Joe Biden that said he was going to pick a black woman. He didn't say a qualified woman. He didn't say, I'm going to pick the best woman. He made it very clear. And he set her up for that type of rhetoric. And that's what bothered me when he picked her, long before I knew what kind of vice president she would be, because I could debate all that. I, as a woman, hated that, because you just put a target on her head as being picked because of her gender. And that's the last thing, particularly somebody like myself, who had to serve 20 years with a male-dominated environment. I didn't want anybody to ever suggest I was there just because I was a woman. So why did he have to say that in the first place? So they're kind of getting that pushback because that's what he set the tone up. I wish Joe Biden said, I'm going to pick the best qualified person to be my vice president, and then surprise everybody. No, he made it gender and he made it race. And that is not the way we should be doing things.
So I'll be the first one to say I don't think someone should be picked because they're a woman or a man or because of the color of their skin. With that said, I would also say that we could have our disagreements on the vice president, but would you agree with me that while you might disagree with her policies, that she still is an educated woman, right? She's still qualified, even though you don't
her approval ratings in California, where I'm from, were astronomically horrible. She couldn't even get 1% of the Democratic vote, and she had to drop out before she hit the Iowa caucus. She incarcerated quite a number of black men for their marijuana crimes, and then turned around and joked about it. She is historically known to have had an affair with Willie Brown. You know this. It's on the record. And that is why a lot of people are concerned with her. There's so many wonderful black women that I have worked with, served with, that I think could have made such a better choice.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. And by the way, I'm not trying to trip you up. It's my job to ask people challenging questions, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican.
You're going back to 2015.
Okay,
We're talking about a man who has a proven record as a president.
Okay, so with all due respect, you just talked about an affair that the vice president had years and years ago.
Right, with all due respect, you started talking about the past.
And that's okay. I don't mind talking about the past. I'm not criticizing you for that. But you just talked about the vice president having an affair decades ago. You're someone who served this country honorably, which, by the way, I respect the hell out of, and I respect our veterans every single day. I do charity work for our veterans, and I'm just confused. I'm not asking you about policy. I get it. You don't like John McCain's policies. Guess what? I didn't agree with John McCain either on a ton of different policies. But I think you and I could hopefully agree on this, and then we can move on to something else. There's a difference between not liking somebody personally or not liking their policies and then saying, I tend to not respect people who are captured. You're
so you really think that the left has treated John?
I'm not asking you about the left.
Fairly?
I'm not asking.
No.
Why is it? What about
this? This is absurd because you want to go after President Trump when you know the left has attacked him mercilessly. They've called him a Nazi. They've called.
I don't agree with that.
All the names and everything. No,
and I don't agree with that.
That's regardless. But then but this is the thing is you're not defending Trump for that. You're trying to find something that Trump did when you don't look at how he and his family have been attacked over and over. No, let me be very clear.
If a Democrat,
you are attacking.
No,
you are not defending.
I'm asking you a question.
You are not defending. You want to bring up John McCain. That's where you got to go.
Okay,
so
we can go on to
really what I'm talking
we can
about.
go on to other things.
The left.
I'm not the left.
The left has gone after. No, you are. You follow MSNBC nonstop.
You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm a registered independent who didn't vote for Barack Obama or Hillary.
Look at your Twitter handle before I came on here, and it was clear.
Well, you're being combative with me. I'm being respectful to you. You're being combative with me.
I'm being combative,
ma'am.
Okay.
I didn't vote.
Okay,
ma'am,
sir.
I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I voted for 8 Republicans in the 2022 midterms. It is my job to ask you challenging questions. Now, you don't have to answer any of my questions, okay?
I've asked you challenging questions. Why is the
Ask me anything you want.
Stop attacking Donald Trump? Nonstop.
Okay,
Call
let
him
me
a Nazi.
Sure.
Call him a Marxist.
Let me respond to that. Let me
call him
respond to that.
No, but it's absurd. Why aren't we just talking about the policies of what makes Donald Trump a favor to the American people instead of bashing them? Why don't we go into that?
Okay,
Why don't
sure.
we go into that?
Let's
what
go
made him
into
a
that.
success?
Sure, let's go into that.
Okay,
First of all,
his
let me
policy-
respond.
When we had lowest inflation rate, when we had a 2% inflation rate, when we only had we had record low unemployment for
We have
everybody
lowest
in 50
employment,
years.
lowest unemployment now that we've had in 50 years
No, we don't.
under
It's
Joe
over
Biden.
4% right now.
The
It's already climbed up,
the-
and
the
our inflation
unemployment-
hit record highs in 50 years.
Okay.
Record high inflation
Okay.
at 9%, and unemployment now has gone
Can I
back
respond?
up over 4%.
Can I
no,
respond to
it's
that?
my interview. No, let me tell you what's going on.
So
you
you're not
get
gonna let me
you get
respond.
me off the air. You get me off the air, and you can rebuttal me nonstop.
So
You
you're not
invited me
gonna-
on to talk about Donald
Yeah,
Trump's
and you're not letting me
policies.
talk. You're not letting
I
me
was
ask you
just-
questions. You're not letting.
because we just said we're going to talk about the policies,
So
and I'm
you
going to
just
give you
said-
those examples.
The unemployment rate is the lowest it's been in 50 years under Joe Biden. You're lying.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, I am not lying. It just climbed up over 4%.
Right.
I am not lying. Do not insult me and tell me I lied.
Well,
That is a ridiculous assessment because I've lived my life with
you
integrity.
support a
If I would've been-
34. You support a liable
I-
rapist, 34 count felon. So I will insult you
Okay. Oh, well, then why invite me if you're inviting me to insult me?
because you're the one who started to
Why?
become.
No,
because you called me a liberal and you mischaracterized me, and you
I
have
follow
absolutely
your
no
Twitter
idea what
handle.
you're
Look at
talking
your
about.
Twitter
I'm a
handle.
registered
Look at your
independent.
Twitter.
I'm a registered
Doesn't matter.
independent.
Your Twitter handle
and-
supports MSNBC.
No, I don't
nonstop.
even
You
watch.
have any
I don't even
conservative
watch
messaging
I don't
on your
even.
Twitter
I don't even
handle.
watch MSNBC. You have absolutely
You
no
don't even
idea what
support
you're
any
talking about.
conservative messaging. Look, we know that you lean left.
No,
I think you're
I'm a
listeners
registered
know that you
independent,
lean left.
and you lean
Doesn't matter
right,
what you're registered
and
as.
you lean
Oh,
far to the
but
right.
I don't profess otherwise. I don't lean right. I
Yeah,
am on
I
the
know.
right.
What is it
I
like?
am a conservative.
Okay,
I've
so
always voted conservative.
So do you
always
think-
voted Republican.
Gotcha. So do you think a woman should have the right to choose, or we should tell women what to do with their own bodies? What do you think about
Donald Trump has not said he will make a federal ban on abortion, and you know that. That's a states' rights
Roe
issue. They
versus
just
Wade.
passed a
Roe
constitutional
versus Wade
amendment.
was overturned
They just
because of
passed a
Trump.
constitutional amendment in California that allows women to have abortion as nonstop. They passed it in Ohio.
Uh-huh.
Every single state has legalized abortion still. It is not. It was not a federal issue. It's a states' rights issue. So let's not go down
Because
that
Roe
rabbit hole
versus
of
Wade
trying to
was
suggest-
overturned.
That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. He has
Oh, it
said he is
doesn't?
not
He
going
didn't
to
help
intervene
appoint the
with them.
Supreme. He didn't help.
Because it's
Nothing
not
to
a
do with Donald
constitutional
Trump.
right.
Who helped the Supreme Court
Because
justices?
It was not a constitutional right.
And who helped?
Because it is not a constitutional right to have an abortion. And read the Constitution. We all know that. He removed it because it was not based upon the Constitution. And the Supreme Court ruled on that.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't bring that Roe v. Wade. It was challenged by other states
Because of the
that were
Supreme-
being told that they had to have. Yes, it's not a constitutional right. Where's abortion in the Constitution?
Roe
Your
versus
states
Wade.
can pass it.
I'm going to
It
answer
got
your
passed.
question.
Then get into your states and have your states pass it in their constitution.
So
That's what the purpose of your state's constitution is. But it is not in the United States Constitution, and you know that.
Gotcha. So Roe versus Wade was overturned because of the conservative Supreme Court justices that Donald Trump held to appoint.
Okay,
That's
but
why.
it wasn't constitutional. Read the arguments. There's no constitutional right for abortion.
Is there a constitutional right for a former
Read the
president?
Constitution. What amendment is abortion in?
Is there a constitutional?
one.
Is
There isn't.
So you're not going to let me answer. Is there a constitutional right for a
I
president?
did answer. There is no constitutional
You're not-
right for abortion.
Is there a constitutional right for a president to have full immunity? What do you think about that? Since you want
Yes,
to talk.
the presidents all have had immunity, and it's not
Oh,
full
really?
immunity.
Okay.
It's in the practice of their office. Yes, oh, really?
Gotcha.
Otherwise, Barack Obama would have been held accountable for droning a U.S. American. Otherwise, Joe Biden right now would be held accountable for allowing 10 million illegals to come over this country and infest us with drugs. So, yes, all the presidents benefit from this, including Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Joe Biden, and George Bush, by the way.
Gotcha.
Every last one of them. And we could go after all of them and find things that we feel were illegal or inappropriate or whatnot. But at the same time, they were performed in the act of being a president, which is covered by the president. The president is able to do that, all presidents. He can now not go out as a private citizen, not in the performance of the duties of the office of president, and commit a crime. But nothing he did was criminal. That's why half of these cases have become a debauchery of what our legal system is. Joe Biden initiated, he said he would use every legal means possible to keep Donald Trump from getting on the ballot and going into the White House. And 3 days after Donald Trump announced he was running for president on November 15th, 2022, 3 days later, three things happened by this White House. They made sure that Nathan Wade was up there for over a day interviewing with them. They had Michael Colangelo, the number 3 at the Department of Justice, go up to New York to work with Alvin Bragg. And the third thing they did was they appointed Jack Smith, who was just now ruled not appropriate to go be a special prosecutor, to go after Donald Trump. Jack Smith, all on the same exact day. 3 cases were initiated, all directly tied to the White House. All directly.
Right, and Jack Smith refiled that motion to refile that, so we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I'm just trying to understand something because you seem very angry at me, and that's not my intention.
You seem very angry at me too, so I guess that's mutual, isn't it?
I'm
trying screaming at me too.
Well, when you started to label,
it was me. Yes, it was me. Yeah, it was me.
I would like
to.
I would like to continue the interview in a respectful manner. As I said, I respect your service as I do for anybody that serves.
Quit
this
telling
country.
me you respect my service. I'm a full-grown woman. You could talk to me how you choose. It has nothing to do with my military service. I don't lean on that to garner anybody's respect.
Well, I wouldn't call you a sucker and a loser like the man who you support did.
He never said that, and that was refuted. And
So,
you know
Millie,
that 19
no, it wasn't.
witnesses, 19.
No, it
Now, let me finish. Let me finish. You said that. He told us
wasn't.
that is that 19 people refuted that, including some of the
So
people
Millie's
that I
a
know
liar.
that were in the room.
So
And,
Millie's a
no.
liar. Millie's a liar.
Yes, Millie is not the most stable guy. Look at how
But
he
Donald
wanted
Trump
to go.
is. But Donald Trump is.
Okay, so you've got a rebuttal to everything. Why do you invite conservatives on? Does it give you?
You know why?
joy?
I'll tell you why. I'm so glad you asked that question.
You're not even letting me finish. I
I'm
know
so
people that
glad.
were in that room. Let me finish.
You
Let
just asked me a
finish.
question.
I have been tried to. No, it was really a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a
Well, I'm
question
going to
that I
answer
actually
it.
expected
Well,
you
I'm
to
going to answer it. The reason why I invite people like you on is to have a debate. You make appearances on Newsmax where they don't challenge anything you say. I don't do that on this show. I invite Republicans on all the time to have debate and to be challenged. Why is it that you don't want to be challenged?
You want to ask? I'm telling you right now, you did challenge me. Now let me answer your question. You answered suckers and losers. I got people that were in that room. He never said that. That was a lie. 19 people. 2 of them were my friends, and they were there. That was a lie. So you want to sit there, and as soon as I said it was a lie, you said, no, it wasn't. Do you know anybody that was in that room? No, you do not. You do not.
So why did he lie?
So why did he lie? You come up with all these lies. You want to
come up with lies.
And talk. Yes, you are, suckers and losers. Give me a break.
Okay, who won the 2020 election?
I actually know people that were in that room.
Why are you screaming?
So you want to sit there?
Why are you yelling like a lunatic?
You started screaming. Oh, wow. You started acting like a lunatic. And then
okay, I'm asking you a question. You don't stop talking.
You're not asking questions because as soon as I
started
answering, you started
2020 election?
And yelling.
Who won the 2020 election? Who won?
Your vegetable in chief, Joe Biden.
He's not a vegetable.
So there you go.
You support a rapist. What is it like supporting a rapist? You want to call him a vegetable?
So ask Tara Reid about how she was molested by Joe Biden. Ask about his daughter.
Was that proven in court?
Go with these petty little remarks.
Was that proven in court?
You're not even a serious interviewer. You're not even a serious
you go on
interviewer.
Newsmax. You go on Newsmax and you're talking about serious interviews. Yeah, and then you hang up the phone. You're a coward. I'm not a serious interviewer. What an unhinged lunatic she is, ladies and gentlemen. Unhinged lunatic. Jessie Jane Duff, who called me a liberal and started attacking me when I was being very respectful to her. And then she says that I don't know how to interview people. What an unhinged lunatic that woman is. Impossible to even interview. I asked very poignant